A democracy can survive almost anything, except one thing: when the people in power control what reality looks like. Picture this. You and your neighbor are staring out the same window. You see a normal sunny day. Your neighbor sees a Category 5 hurricane. If you cannot even agree on the weather, you will never agree on how to fix the roof. That is the core problem of our time. In a healthy democracy, the news is supposed to be a watchdog. It gives everyone the same basic facts. You might fight about solutions, but you at least agree on what is broken. But when the government puts the watchdog on a leash, it stops guarding the house and starts guarding the people inside it. Over the last 10 years, people everywhere have become more angry, more anxious, and more divided. But the way that division is manufactured depends entirely on where you live. Today, we are breaking down the mechanics of brainwashing and misinformation, and why the United States, the United Kingdom, and Poland ended up in 3 very different versions of the same crisis. Start with Poland, because what happened there is a masterclass in how to hijack a country's mind slowly, legally, and systematically. In 2015, a party called Law and Justice, PIS, won national elections. They promised support for working families, bigger child benefits, and traditional values. But once they got power, they learned the real lesson of modern politics. You do not just need votes, you need control of the story people live inside. Experts call what they built media capture. Not soldiers storming a studio, not a dramatic coup, something quieter and smarter. They rewired the whole media system piece by piece until the loudest voice in the country sounded like the ruling party. They fought on 3 battlegrounds. Battleground 1 was public broadcasting. In many European countries, public TV is paid for by taxpayers and legally required to be politically neutral. It belongs to the people, not whoever won the last election. But almost immediately, the new government passed laws to fire the independent boards running state TV and radio. They replaced them with a new council stacked with loyalists. And almost overnight, public television, especially TVP, became a publicly funded megaphone. This was not subtle bias. It was aggressive propaganda. Night after night, the message was consistent. The government was heroic, and the opposition were traitors. They used emotional triggers like weapons. Viewers were told immigrants, LGBTQ people, and the European Union were coming for Polish families. Opposition leaders were introduced with dark music and sinister editing. Watchdogs later estimated that around 80% of political airtime went to the ruling party. To keep that machine running, the government pumped billions of zloty into it. Imagine paying taxes that get turned into nightly lies aimed straight at your parents and grandparents. That is what happened, and it had consequences. In 2019, the progressive mayor of Gdansk, who had been relentlessly smeared by state television, was assassinated on stage during a charity event. A brutal reminder of what happens when a government uses media to manufacture enemies. But controlling national TV was not enough. They knew that in small towns and rural areas, local news is the real lifeline. That brings us to Battleground 2, local media. In 2020, a state-owned oil and gas giant called Orlen suddenly decided it wanted to own newspapers. Orlen bought Polska Press, a huge local media group. In one move, a company tied closely to the government gained control of 20 local daily papers, more than 100 weekly magazines, and roughly 500 local websites. Overnight, large parts of local print media started answering to the state. Journalists got pressured. Investigations into local PIS-connected politicians cooled down. Many reporters quit. The papers that once acted like local watchdogs became safer, quieter, and filled with government-friendly talking points alongside community events and recipes. The takeover was silent, and that was the point. Then came Battleground 3, the biggest independent TV network left, TVN. TVN was popular, aggressive, and unafraid. It covered corruption and embarrassed officials. It was a problem. But TVN was owned by an American company, Discovery, so the government could not just walk in and replace the bosses. So in 2021, they tried to change the law. a bill that would ban non-European companies from owning a controlling stake in Polish TV. They sold it as national security, warning about Russia and China. But everyone understood the real target. The goal was to force Discovery to sell TVN, ideally to a buyer friendly to the ruling party. This time, Poland pushed back. Hundreds of thousands protested in the streets to defend free speech, and the United States applied pressure, making it clear that crushing an American-owned free press is not how allies behave. The Polish president vetoed the bill. TVN survived, but the message was chilling. No independent voice was safe if it got too loud. Now zoom out. You are looking at a machine of division designed from the top down. How does that compare to the United States and the United Kingdom? In America, the division feels just as intense. Families cannot get through a holiday dinner. Researchers rank the U.S. among the most polarized news environments in the world. But the critical difference is this. In America, the brainwashing is driven mostly by money, not direct government control. The U.S. media market is deregulated and brutally commercial. Cable networks are private businesses. They learned that calm reporting does not keep people watching. Outrage does. Fear does. Tribal loyalty does. Picking a side boosts ratings. Ratings boost ad money. Social media algorithms do the same thing at scale, feeding people the content that keeps them angry and engaged. And America does not have one giant, universally trusted public broadcaster that most people share. PBS and NPR exist, but they are small compared to the commercial giants. So the American split is not usually a government script. It is a business model that profits from tearing reality into pieces. The UK sits somewhere in the middle. British newspapers can be loud, vicious, and openly biased. Tabloids attack politicians like it is sport. But TV is a different universe. The UK has strict broadcasting rules that require balance, and at the center sits the BBC. It is huge, publicly funded, and legally committed to neutrality. It is not perfect. The left accuses it of being conservative, the right accuses it of being liberal. But when both sides are angry, it often means the anchor is still holding. The BBC provides a baseline of shared reality that makes it harder for the country to split completely into two hostile worlds the way the US has. Put these three side by side, and Poland's story becomes uniquely alarming. In the US, division is monetized. In the UK, division is moderated by a strong public anchor. But in Poland under PIS, division was engineered by the state itself. They used law, money, and public institutions to build a media system that helped them keep power. But there is a hopeful ending. In late 2023, Polish voters showed up in record numbers. Young people and women turned out massively. People realized the terrifying world on state TV did not match the world outside their own window. And they voted the government out. A new coalition took over, and one of their first acts in December 2023 was to shut down the propaganda pipeline. They liquidated the state television company, removed political appointees, and even took the main news channel off the air for days to clean house. It was messy, chaotic, and controversial, but it broke the spell. Poland is still healing. Local news is trying to find its spine again. Public broadcasting is trying to remember how to be a watchdog instead of a lapdog. And the last decade stands as a warning to everyone else. Democracy does not usually die with tanks in the streets. It dies when someone takes the remote control from your hand. It dies when reality becomes a subscription service. And once a country loses its shared facts, it does not just lose the argument. It loses the ability to fix the roof before the storm actually hits.